What's up, everyone? It's Tanner with Dig Deep. And today, for our first episode and conversation, we have the absolute pleasure of speaking with Mr. Micah Carli. Micah, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, Tanner. Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be a part of your first show.
Yeah, no, man, really appreciate it. Like I said, I know you're a busy guy, so it definitely means a lot. And for those who may not be familiar, although I have a feeling a lot of people will be, Micah was one of the original members and lead guitarist of the insanely popular band Hawthorne Heights for what, close to 15 years.
I toured with them for 12, no, 13 years. Yeah,
13 years. Awesome.
yeah, so pretty close.
And also the owner and operator of Popside Recording Studio in
That's
Troy,
right.
Ohio. So very cool stuff. Like I said, a lot of people my age in their 30s have been impacted by your music. So again, appreciate the time and appreciate the opportunity to chat with you.
Of course, happy to be here.
Awesome. So before we get into it, what's this year been like for you, man? How's 2022 been for you?
Whew. Strikes and gutters, man. Some good stuff, some bad stuff. Overall, though, we're happy to be alive and healthy and still able to work. How so many have been affected negatively by the pandemic. The fact that just doing a recording studio, I've been able to provide for myself and keep a house or keep my roof going over my head. And it's been tough though too. Obviously, I'm fatigued as so many are with the constant new variations or variants and this and that, and there's family stuff to mix in there to keep it extra spicy. It's been a blast. 2022 is a blast so far.
Oh my gosh. It has been a crazy past, what, 2.5, almost 3 years now. Hard to
Yeah, right.
believe everything that we've gone through, but I can imagine a lot of people maybe have turned to music or have taken the leap to start recording their own music in that kind of, lull period where we couldn't do much else. So I can imagine that you may have seen a little bit of uptick in people reaching out to you and trying to get some recordings down.
Actually, I had a major uptick right at the beginning, specifically too, because nobody could go play shows or go on tour, and
Right.
so everybody was just writing and recording and or wanted to record. So I went
Yep.
from being booked like 2 months in advance to being booked like 6 months out now. So
Wow. Well,
yeah,
I guess that's good for business.
it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I hate that I'm thriving while so many others are suffering, but yeah,
Right.
it is. It has been good for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've seen your share of downtimes as well. So it comes in
Exactly.
waves. It comes in
It does.
waves. Well, cool, man. Well, a lot to get into. And so I guess kind of let's start at the beginning. I know we've kind of gone over some questions and topics here, but so you were born and raised in Ohio, right?
I was. Yeah.
Born and raised. So what was it early on that kind of, what was it that sparked your interest in music? Maybe you saw someone or heard some songs on the radio and you thought to yourself, man, this is, I like music. I may want to pursue it.
Um, it's one of those things for me. It's just as far back as I can remember. It's always been a part of my life. I come from a musical family. Both my parents are musical, nothing professional, but both
Right.
talented. Um, both of my grandparents or both sets of grandparents had some musical background as well too. So music was always around and it was always encouraged and it was something that connected us all and we had fun playing together and my parents were so supportive. They always encouraged me to follow my passions. And that's what led to me being able to make music a profession for the last 20 years now. So
Wow. So definitely a family influence. I think I read in maybe an old interview, jazz musicians.
I did have some jazz actually. Yeah, right before I joined A Day in the Life, which was the band before Hawthorne, what
Right.
became Hawthorne Heights. Yeah, I was playing in my own. I had my own jazz trio, and we were playing around town. I During that time, I was literally just wanting to play any kind of music I could possibly get my hands on, and so I
Right.
chose jazz for a little while. And then JT said, "Hey, we one of our guitarists left, and I've never really listened to punk rock or hardcore, but it's like, let's give it a shot.
We'll
Sounds like
try it.
fun."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. That's quite the leap. Although you do hear a lot of guitarists specifically having a foundation or rooting in jazz.
the musicality in jazz is really high. Yeah,
Wow.
it's absurd. Those guys can just run circles around the best
Jeez.
blues guitar player, the best metal player, or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Wow. That's awesome. So was guitar the first instrument you played?
Actually, no, no. I started in the school band. Actually, I started on drums first. Played that for a couple years, and then I moved to saxophone. Did that for a couple years as well, and then about 12 years old is when I picked up the guitar for the first time, and that just really stuck and spoke to me. And I was playing 8, 10 hours a day at that time, just
Jeez.
rehearsing nonstop because that's the only thing I wanted to do.
Oh my gosh. Very cool. So fingertips must have been very calloused at times.
Usually, yeah, usually the stopping point for the day was when my fingers were bleeding and I couldn't play anymore.
Oh
That's when
my
I called it a
gosh.
day. Yeah,
Yeah, that I'm sure that was pretty painful at times, but all worth it though.
it was fun.
All
I
worth
loved
it.
it.
So I'm sure you've come a long way from this point, but do you remember the first guitar and amp setup you had?
Oh yeah, I still have it.
Oh, you do?
Absolutely. I have a rule that I don't like to get rid of gear. So yeah, I still have everything I've ever owned.
Wow.
Yeah, my first electric guitar was just a classic Mexican made Fender Strat, and I
Yep.
still have it, and it still sounds great. And then I had this little Squire 1/8 combo, 1/8 inch speaker, and
Yep.
that was amazing.
You
Yeah,
ran
that's
with it.
fun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
God.
not thunderingly loud, but it was fun and it sounded great for the time.
It did what it needed to do to get you started playing.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that was what? That was probably what, early 90s maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. About 92, 93.
So I guess at that point when you started guitar, who, crazy music scene early 90s. Rock was still big,
Sure.
grunge, things like that, more
Yeah.
mainstream. Were you imitating anybody? Were you looking up to anybody that you saw like, man, I really want to play like this person or
Oh,
man, I want to be like them.
I definitely had, yeah, I still have heroes. And I cut my teeth on a lot of the old classic rock stuff like Hendrix, Zeppelin, Black
Yep.
Sabbath, things like that. Those
Yep.
were some of my absolute favorite bands. Beatles too. But then I also have a real soft spot for a lot of the grunge era, Soundgarden, Stone Temple
Okay.
Pilots, things like that were some of my favorites as too.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I would just pick an album to take a Hendrix record, and I would sit down, and sometimes I had music, some tablature, or sometimes I didn't, and I would just sit down and learn the whole record note for note as best I could. And that's, I mean, I know that taught me a lot. You know, learning from those greats and how they did
Right.
it, what they did, has definitely taught me a lot.
Yeah, that I mean, hell, that's pretty tough to do. Now it seems like there's so many websites out there, tabs, guitar tabs, right? You were probably reading actual literature and or
Yeah,
maybe tab books, or you're picking it up by ear, just
yeah,
learning it.
mostly by ear at that point. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, that talk about a solid foundation, picking something up by ear and just going with it.
it's hard, but it was good. Yeah, it
Wow.
definitely made me a better musician.
Yeah, no, for sure. What geez, let's see. At some point there was probably a discussion in your head that you had with yourself where you told yourself, hey, music is something that I want to pursue professionally, whether it's performing in a band or on the back end, maybe producing like you are now. What was there ever a point, or did it kind of naturally evolve and it just everything kind of happened naturally?
I would say it was more the latter. I I kind of saw myself playing music professionally in some way, but I'm an artist, and that sounds kind of braggadocious. But like to say, like I am always going to be more concerned about the music than the business side of it.
Right.
The business of the music, it just doesn't interest me. I know it's a part of it. You can't have one without the other if you want to do it professionally. But I was never good at that side of it. So like I focused on the artistic side. And so when we, when Hawthorne was kind of coming into its own, we all were able to kind of subdivide the duties. And I was able to handle some of the recording more so. And then we had, our drummer was more business minded, so he took care of that side a little bit more. And it just kind of happened very organically. Like it's not like we didn't struggle a great deal, but also it didn't come like right away. You know,
Right.
we spent about a whole year demoing songs and putting together press kits to send out,
Yep.
and then following up. I'd say, yeah, probably about 9 to 10 months total between when we scrapped all the old A Day in the Life songs, started writing new Hawthorne songs, sent out press kits, and got signed. It was probably about 9 or 10 months.
Wow. Full-time
So
job.
Yeah, pretty much.
full-time job. Yeah, it's crazy because some people, they pursue something, right? And they have a dream maybe. And there's a point where they come and they say, I'm either going to go for it or I'm going to go get an office job or go to college or whatever it may be. So it's
Exactly. Yeah.
interesting to hear that yours was just kind of always in the works. This was always something you were going to do, whether it's on the front end or the back end. And it's crazy that there's that split, right? Like you said, where there's the music side and the business side, and you wanted to stay far out of the business side.
Yeah. It just doesn't agree with me.
Oh man. Well, hey, you focused on the music and that's all that matters.
For me, it does. Yeah. Honestly.
Oh man. Well, that's cool, man. So I guess let's fast forward a bit. You talked a little bit
Okay.
about this as well. So getting into some of those early years of performing. So a day in the life, right? That was the band that came before Hawthorne, really. But again, picking your brain and your memory here. First performance of any kind, like live performance, maybe
Ooh.
band or church or whatever it was. Where was that?
It would have to have been like, yeah, the school band. Um, we did a few of those when I was like fifth, sixth grade. And actually, that was seventh grade. So junior high, I was playing saxophone at that point. We actually got to go down and perform during the seventh inning stretch of a Reds game. So that was a big thing for
Oh
me. I
yeah.
was nervous as hell, but it turned out all right. I can't remember like the first specific time
Right.
though.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough to say, but it would have been very young, like fifth, sixth grade, something like
Wow.
that.
So hey, playing in front of a Reds game, no joke. I mean, there's probably
Yeah, that
twenty
was
thousand people there.
exactly. Yeah. Oh, I was nervous. I was very nervous.
Oh my
We
gosh.
did
It,
uh we did Edgar Wright's Free Ride too, which was a kick-ass song. It's fun to play.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Edgar, wasn't he Rick Derringer is associated with him a lot of songwriting, isn't
Yes.
he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They work together quite a bit. Yep.
Very cool. A lot of guys I like to listen to back then. Edgar Winter Big, what Frankenstein is
Exactly. Yeah.
the what
Yep.
15 almost 15-minute instrumental he has.
It's ridiculous, but it's awesome. Yep.
God, classic. Well, very cool, man. That is good to pick your brain on that. So you guys are all, I guess, a day in the life and then getting into Hawthorne, all from the general Dayton area, right? Like, did you know those guys from school, the local music scene? Where'd you guys kind of first meet?
None of us actually went to school together. Although Casey, our member who passed away, Casey and Matt, they kind of grew up together and were closer friends. The rest of us more or less met playing through the band scene, and I think we ended up essentially poaching our drummer from another band that we played a show with his band. We're like, hey, that drummer's great. Let's talk to him, and then we stole him. And so yeah, none of us
Seems to
really
be common in the early band scene where you're kind of shifting
exactly,
members
yeah.
around to see what fits.
Exactly, yeah. The old adage of you're only as strong as your weakest link, and so sometimes you gotta make some difficult choices. If
Yeah,
if somebody's not pulling their share and is hindering, and you guys, if you're not all on the same page, then maybe you got to find somebody who is on the same page as
right.
you.
Yeah, no, it seems like everybody has to kind of have the same mindset, ambition, and drive to get where the band as a collective wants to go.
Similar, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
You need some similarity there. You guys can't be existing fighting for different causes because you're gonna burn yourself out
right.
clashing.
Wow. Wow. Very cool. Very cool stuff for sure. So, again, moving forward a little bit. So, a day in the life, we're talking early 2000s here, right?
Yep.
Early 2000s, different time in music, right? We've a little bit of a transition now. Rock seems to be a little bit on its way out. Grunge is in the past at this point.
hmm
Maybe a little bit more pop has come up or hip hop or rap in the mainstream. But then we have the emergence of MySpace, right? Social media,
Yeah.
social networks,
Yeah.
things like that. So you guys were probably dealing with, before you even put those records out, a lot of stuff, maybe a lot of self promotion, self marketing that bands 10 years prior didn't even have to worry about or focus on. You could kind of work
Absolutely.
on building your own base organically through those networks, which had never been done before.
Absolutely. No, it was a brand new game. The whole business model changed with online social media, things like that. Prior to that, I mean, the only way to like break a single was if you could pick up radio play or something like that through a label. Maybe you get signed to a label, they have the money at the pull to be able to get you on the radio, and that's going to be your best shot. But that whole model completely just went away because now any dipshit with a laptop can record themselves and put it online and then there's good and bad parts of that. Yeah, sorry if that sounds a little elitist, but yeah, like being able to connect with your fans personally, like really took away a lot of what a label would have done for you. So you
Right.
didn't need them as much as you used to.
Yeah.
Which and in some ways that was great. However, since they also bands stopped selling records the same way that they used to, like just people are just not buying albums like they used to. They're downloading a single now off of iTunes or whatever. So that therefore the labels stopped making the kind of money they used to. So they started taking more from the bands.
Mm-hmm.
So they did these 360 deals, what they called, where the label used to only just take portions of your income from sales, and after this, they get a chunk of everything. Literally every revenue stream you have,
Wow.
be it merch, playing live, whatever, they get a chunk of that. And that's how they tried to stay afloat too. But I'm sure it's changed dramatically since I left the business too.
I can see why you don't like the business side.
Yeah, it's tedious. Exactly. It's not
Yeah.
fun to talk about. It's not
Right.
cool. It's not exciting at all. And
Jeez.
I've had so many of those meetings with some manager or booking agent or lawyer or whatever, and they all say they're all on the same exact script. They all lie to your faces about this is going to be the best year ever. We're going to make you a household name, and we're in the business of making gold record. All this like cliche stuff that they would say, and none of them follow through on any of it. I just got fucking sick of it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, I believe, no, you're all good, man. No, I believe it. It is, definitely sounds frustrating to deal with that end, especially when you're, like I said, when you're focused on the music and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But there's
Yeah.
those barriers that have to be dealt with and somebody has to deal with them. And it just, yeah, it seems like there's a lot to it that I could imagine gets very frustrating
Oh,
when you're just
absolutely.
trying
Yeah.
to make music, put it out and run.
Sounds simple enough,
Wow.
but it's not. Yeah.
Right. So MySpace, we talked about, crazy to think, wow, that's like 20 some years ago, right? But
Right.
so
Yeah.
personally, me, I know we talked about this. So I think one of my profile songs, right, was Saying Sorry. So you
Okay.
guys had a huge, I guess, impact. You were one of the better known bands that kind of utilized the platform of that. What was I guess having that aspect being brought in, like you said, completely changed the game as to how a band could promote itself and kind of maybe pre-release tracks or gain a little bit of feedback and talk directly to the fans
Yeah.
that were buying music.
Yeah. It was an incredibly useful tool. And I guess I remember talking about this in many interviews during that time. That for some reason we were one of the first bands to utilize that. I'm not saying we were the first, but like we were one of the earlier people to incorporate that into how we connect with fans and share data or share information about ourselves and connect better with them. And it proved to be very, very useful until MySpace went belly up. Yeah.
Went sideways, yeah. So
Yeah.
speaking of that, so two very successful first albums you guys put out, Silence in Black and White and If Only You Were Lonely, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So those were, I mean, those were gold records, certified gold, charted on Billboard. I know you said you had a little bit of run up to getting those albums out, or even the work beforehand, maybe releasing a record or two with A Day in the Life. But
Yes,
I
we
mean,
did
that
it.
was pretty much immediate success from a fan's perspective. Here's Hawthorne
Yeah.
Heights coming on the scene, dropping these two albums, certified gold, charting on Billboard, and they're everywhere, right? So what was right out of the gate, guys from Ohio, right? What was that? What was that kind of like?
It was a crazy trip. Yeah, like we did not expect that sort of immediate rise. Um, and I'm not even saying I don't even think that we were like the best band or we worked the hardest or anything, but we did work hard. We took it very seriously, and we never took shortcuts. We always tried to make sure we had the music there, like the good music. We always tried to put on a good passionate show and really connect with the fans world and meet some of my heroes and other bands and get to go on television shows and things like that. Like it was unreal, but at the same time we were just a few guys from Ohio. We're just like good old Midwest boys who, we it didn't really go to our heads too much. Luckily, I we always tried to stay very grounded and connected with the fans. And, we nobody was like a big partier or anything like that. Like
Right.
we took it very seriously, and we were very grateful and thankful for all the success that we had.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've like I said, I've watched some of the old, I guess, late night shows, Jay Leno, Conan, things like that. You do the
Yeah.
TV appearances, and then you obviously are on big tour, Warp Tour, doing shows like that, and you guys were getting after it on stage, right? Like
Oh yeah.
a couple
It was
guys from
fun.
Ohio just throwing down, and
Yeah.
you've had to have toured with some very cool bands, right? Obviously on
Hmm.
those circuits and things like that. Any guys that you were kind of close with? Any bands that you liked when you toured together, or any big memories like that that kind
Oh
of stood
yeah.
the test of time?
Oh, there's tons of bands that, yeah, we really became close friends. Obviously, there were quite a few handful of Victory bands,
Right.
Victory the label,
Yep.
just because we often were bundled together. So like Bayside and Silverstein and Spitalfield and all those, like we spent a lot of time with them, and we're pretty close. The band Emery, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. They're
Heard of
from
them. Yep.
Seattle. Yeah, they were some of our early friends, and we just love them to death. They are great guys. And then there's like times where we got to meet like Chris Cornell, because we did the Project Revolution tour with Linkin Park, and
Yep. Yep.
we were hanging out backstage with Linkin Park playing Halo, and just some things that I literally can't wrap my head around. It was too overwhelming. Or one time we played this festival in Japan, and we opened up for Metallica at a
Wow.
baseball stadium. It was unreal. Now we unfortunately did not get to meet Metallica personally, but it was still really, really cool just to
Oh
be
yeah.
there. Yeah, be a part
So
of that.
now that so huge Metallica fan myself. So that was
Yeah,
going to be one of
cool.
the things we were going to get into, where it's like, your influences, your kind of idols or heroes in the music scene, like getting to meet them in person and or tour with them or just interact with them has to be super cool. But in the same time, like you're doing the same thing they are. They may be
Yeah,
fans of you.
it's possible. You're right. Honestly, it is possible. Yeah, it was amazing, absolutely amazing, and to meet some of those heroes, meet some of the people that I learned to play guitar by learning their records and listening to them. And I remember we once did a little show at Rutgers University, and the lineup was just absurd. The first band was the band Everclear, which I loved them, good, great '90s band.
Right.
Then us, and then the Roots played after us, and it was just amazing, and to hear these bands talk to us and about us, and just mentioning our name was a big deal. Yeah,
Wow. Like you said, guys from Ohio, right?
yeah, exactly. That's all we
Wow.
are, pretty much.
God, that's like I said, that's very cool insights and stories and things like that. It is, I'm sure touring in itself, you have loads of memories and
Mm,
maybe some good, some bad, but kind of
absolutely.
transitioning there. So doing anything for like 12, 13, almost 14 years, I mean, it can get old, it can get tiring. People change, especially when you're in your 20s and your 30s. You know, outlooks change, people change, mindsets
Hmm.
change. What you want out of life itself changes. You
Absolutely.
obviously at one point had left Hawthorne Heights. Was there
Hmm.
ever a time, or was it kind of just a slow build up of you telling yourself, hey, this, maybe this isn't what I want to do anymore?
It was a slow build. Yeah, there wasn't a single event that caused me to jump ship or anything. Um, no, it was the bottom line was I just wasn't really feeling it anymore. Like it became too monotonous, just like you were saying. It's a job that I love, but it is a job still to perform like that regularly, and eat, live out of a suitcase and eat gas station dinners and miss everything, miss birthdays, miss funerals, miss holiday events, miss everything. It gets old, and it takes a toll on you. And I think I just got to a point where my heart was no longer in this, and I had to move on. I needed the next chapter.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, especially, outside of music, those kind of changes and progressions also happen in other people's lives. But, when
Sure.
people think of musicians, they think, wow, how could you ever give this up? Right. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
like you said, it's a job. You're on the road hundreds of days out of the year, missing family events, birthdays,
Oh
funerals.
yeah.
You don't ever get to hang out with your friends back home.
Oh, exactly.
So you're missing out on what some may call normal life. And
Yes.
I'm sure after years pass, that could kind of get a little daunting, and you say, you know what, this is great, but it's not worth it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow.
And no shame at all for people that are willing to do that, or have the drive to do it. That's okay. That's great. But for me, it just wasn't the right fit anymore, and I needed something new.
Yeah. So you left. It was a there were no hard feelings, right? It was kind of a you
Nope.
wanted to do your own thing, and they
Yeah.
respected that, and they obviously carried on.
Yeah, it was a very mutual thing, or there was no animosity. I gave them plenty of notice. I told them just what I told you, that I don't hate. It's not that I hate this or anything, but it's just no longer for me, and they understood that, of course. And so I filled out, or I finished up several months of touring that we already had booked, and then I helped train replacements, or train the new guitar player to take over my parts. And yeah, it was just about as painless and seamless as you could imagine.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Talk about that transition, right? Where you kind of let them know, but in your heart, you were done, but you still had to
Hmm.
tour. I'm sure that
Yeah,
was a little, maybe
a,
going through the motions a little bit, but
a little bit, but also no. It's like knowing that there's an end to it. You know how,
right.
like, the last week of school is.
Yep.
You're excited to be there because it's the
Right.
last week, and you're just going to be fucking around the whole
Yep.
time.
Yep. Yep. Well,
And
same
so there was a
just with any job too. It's like, hey,
yeah,
I hate this thing, but shit, I got 2 weeks left, so life is good. I'm
exactly.
just gonna ride this out.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't bad at all. It was fun. And
Wow.
our last tour, or my last tour, was in Australia too, so that was fun. I got to go see the whole country again,
Yep.
and yeah, it was
Wow.
nice.
Wow. So you probably have got or still do get asked this a lot. Obviously, you guys are still all in Dayton. Any you guys still interact at all, or any? I mean, it's been what, almost 8 years, right, since you've been gone.
I left the very end of 2014. So yeah, pretty close. Yeah, 7 years, 8 years. Yes, actually, we have had some contact. Everybody's on good terms. Yeah, we've still in touch occasionally. I haven't really hung out too much with them because, most of the band's on tour all the time,
Right.
and our drummer, I think he's relocated down to Cincinnati right now.
Okay.
But or our ex drummer, so our Aaron,
Aaron. Right.
yeah.
Now he
But
left.
yeah,
He left a little before you, right?
he left about 6 months before I did. Yeah. Yeah. So we both left in 2014.
Okay.
He left to do a business. He actually invented some sort of device, and he started a company that he was going to be, a CEO of, or something like that. And so he had an awesome opportunity, and he had to take it.
Yeah.
So
Is he still doing that? Did that
I,
pan out or?
I think he's still. I'm not sure if he's in the same business, but I know he's very entrepreneurial, and he
Couple
started up other
steps.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's still
Wow.
going.
Very cool, man. Yeah. So I guess with anything, life comes after whatever you're doing. So life after Hawthorne Heights, right? Popside. And you had done Popside had been in existence for several years, right?
Yes, yeah, I started Popside back in 2010, actually. So I was doing it during the last 4 years of my time with the band, but I was doing that just whenever I had a little free time. Whenever, if I was home for a few weeks or a month, then I'd pick up a project or two, as well as recorded and produced a few albums for Hawthorne there too, some of our EPs. But then once I left the band, I put more effort into it, and I've been doing the studio full time since I left.
I was gonna say,
It
yeah. So there was probably you kind of already knew where you loved the producing back end of things. You had left the band. So it was, again, as you said, kind of a natural progression
it
into
was
making that a full-time job.
absolutely no. This sates my musical itch without having to be on the road and eat corn nuts for dinner again.
Right. You got to have that creative outlet where you may have got it from performing or
Yeah,
touring or whatever it may be. As with any change, it's like, okay, how do I fill this void in my next
exactly.
step?
Yeah. Hmm.
So I got it, working in a studio, owning it and running it yourself has to have provide fulfillment in a completely different way than getting on stage and performing. I guess what's that
It's great.
like?
It's addicting to me. I absolutely love being in the studio and working with bands. I love being able to share some of my experiences with younger bands getting started, and hopefully get them on the right path a little bit, and helping them get a record that they're proud of and can sell and make some money and keep doing what they want to do. But I just love the process of creating, and basically I have there's a three checklist thing. Like, if the band is good, then it's easier and a pleasure for me. Like they can literally play their instruments well.
Right.
If they're good people and just fun to be around, fun to hang, funny and nice, pleasurable, that's a real perk. And then three, if I like the music, if it's not some terrible kind of music, if we can get all three of those, it's barely a job. It's something I just absolutely adore. That's how I would spend my time if I had nothing to do.
Yep. Everything just seems to click with those three things when they occur.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine that would make the experience much more pleasurable than if the band didn't know how to play and they were playing
Oh
some
yeah.
music that you're just like, what the hell is this? What
Yeah.
is going
Yep.
on?
That happens sometimes, and
Oh,
it's not pleasant. Yeah.
I believe that. I believe it. So you kind of already talked about, without me asking, what you enjoy the most. So you are a full blown 100% recording studio. You do bands come in, record, lay down tracks, you produce, you edit everything, right? Full
Hmm.
service.
Yep. Yep. It's
Very
just
cool.
me, and I do the whole thing. Yep.
Just you. So no helpers, no interns, no nothing like that.
Nothing full time. I have had interns. I do have some buddies I can call on if I get overwhelmed.
Right.
If I have too much editing to do, I can call somebody and farm out some work if I need to.
Right. Right. Wow. Well, that's cool. Again, keeps you very busy, but busy is
Yeah,
good. And like you said, you're booked
exactly.
out, hell, 6, 7 months now.
Yeah, right.
So I guess currently, let's keep talking about Popside a little bit. What any exciting bands or any exciting projects that you're working on that you can maybe share some details on?
Oh, sure, sure, yeah. Actually, I'm finishing up a record right now with a new band called Camarillo, and there's some young kids. Well, I say kids, but they're like early 20s. That's a kid to
Right,
me.
right.
But really nice guys and an interesting band, and it's got some cool. I, I don't know exactly what their influences are, but to me, I'm hearing some awesome like early 2000s stuff. Like it almost sounds like Sunny Day Real Estate and Thursday and stuff like that. And I'm like, hell yeah, good for you guys.
Isn't that crazy that people
Right.
making music now are using, say, your generation when you were coming into the scene, that
It's
as inspiration?
it's crazy to me to think that like yeah we're like classic rock comparatively.
Right,
Like
right,
when I was 12 and playing guitar in 1992, I was playing 1972 classic rock,
right.
and it's the same equivalency or same
Wow.
decades. Yeah.
God, that's crazy. Kind of you see it maybe full circle where somebody comes in and is like, "Oh man, I listened to your record you put out in 2004 and definitely started me off." And you're like, "Okay, well now I'm producing your record." Right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no,
God.
that's been very helpful for me. A lot
Yeah.
of people are very excited to come in and work with me because of the experience I've had and whatnot.
Oh yeah, you definitely have a track record of experience and you've been
Yeah.
there. So I'm sure a lot of people trust you in what you're doing.
I get a lot of trust, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, no. So big guitar guy, right? Big
Yeah.
music
Hmm.
equipment guy. Tell me a little bit about so continuing on with Popside, what's some of the equipment that you're running, maybe some of the big guitars in your collection that
Oh, okay.
personal side and stuff that you let bands that come in use, things like that. Give me the lowdown on what you have going on there.
Okay. Well, so I currently I'm running a Pro Tools rig, and I've got 32 channels in, 32 out, so I can cover pretty large recording projects with that. Um, I've got some decent outboard gear as well, some API stuff, some universal audio. And guitar wise, I do, like as I said too, I have this rule of like never getting rid of stuff. So I have
Right.
just an excessive amount
Mm-hmm.
of gear.
I can
Like
imagine.
I probably have about like 20 or so guitar heads, amps alone, and then another 10 or 15 combos. And I think I'm
Wow.
up to about 70 guitars roughly right now. And some of my
That's a lot.
favorites, yeah, some of my favorites. I have a an '81 Les Paul Custom that's silver burst, and it's by far one of the most expensive guitars I own.
Yep.
Sound plays like butter and sounds amazing.
Yep.
Um, got a nice 1972 335 Gibson as well, natural walnut finish. That thing sounds amazing.
Wow.
Also have a 72 P bass, which is one of my favorite go-to basses. Just like it sounds like rock. That's what it sounds like.
Yep. Yep. It has that
Yeah.
sound to it. What were you, I guess, what were you playing on tour a lot when you were on the road all year?
I liked well, early on. I only had, a couple guitars, so I played what I had. And
Right.
there, but as I started to collect more gear, it was kind of fun to keep things fresh, honestly, for me, like just to play something new. So each tour I would like, or maybe for the year, I would put together a new rig, play a different amp and cabinet, and put together a new pedal board, and then bring out a handful of guitars, and just keep it fresh for me. Kept it more interesting. But I suppose if I had to like list a guitar or gear that I played the most, it would probably be Gibson Explorers.
Oh yeah.
Definitely had a thing for those for a while, and ended up buying just like five of them. So I
I mean,
I
they're
love my.
classic. I mean,
They are,
a
yeah.
lot of the class, maybe 80s, a lot of metal guys used them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is just, again, it's a rock guitar.
Yeah.
It's so, and the shape is handy to do some fun little
Yeah.
like samurai moves with it too. Oh yeah,
Which you
they're
did. Like
fun.
I said, watching those old
Yeah,
videos of you guys on tour and the late night shows, you
yeah.
got after it and just hell. There were
I
times I was watching, I was like, man, how is he still playing? It's crazy.
I like to get into it. I like to like really just let go on
Yeah.
stage.
No, that's awesome, man. Very cool. So I guess music makes up probably a lot of your life, right? Outside
Pretty
of
much.
music, who is Micah Carli, right? Like what
Uh,
takes up your free time if you
Good
have any,
call.
right?
Good call. No, I do make time. Let's see. Well, I do enjoy reading. Need to do that more. I love movies and film and TV shows, of course. Uh, I do enjoy, like, after a nice long hard day, relaxing with a buddy or something, and get a glass of bourbon and have a cigar. Whew,
Oh yeah, okay.
that is very nice way to come down after a show
Oh,
or
for
after
sure.
whatever. Yeah.
Favorite bourbon?
Uh,
What do you got? What do you got in the cabinet?
I don't think I have anything too crazy at the moment. Got some High West, some Calumet, Whistle Pig, Four Roses. I got a handful.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I'm a bourbon guy and also like a cigar occasionally,
Nice.
so definitely a good
Nice.
way to
Yeah.
relax for sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's I've only been doing it for a couple of years, but I've definitely enjoyed it a great deal now.
You've now transitioned into the bourbon and cigar stage,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
So it's a fun part.
God, that's
And
awesome.
then also, actually, I've been really enjoying bowling lately. Just been getting into bowling. I used to, go when I was a kid a bunch, but never was very good. But it's been a fun hobby, something positive to look forward to.
It is a
So
I so I go bowling occasionally. I'm a fan of it, right? To me, it's kind of like a classic activity, right? When I go bowling,
it
I'm like,
is.
I feel like I'm back in the 70s or 80s where you just go into the bowling
Yeah,
alley, get some good food, drink some beer, and just play a couple games. And
it's amazing. Yeah, go with some friends. You just have some good laughs and have a little bit of fun bowling, and it's not hard. Yeah, good. They have the best junk food there
yep,
ever.
yep.
Cheese
Concession
fries and all
stand
kinds.
food. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, there's just something charming about that. That I've been enjoying lately.
Man, that's very cool. Very cool, man. Well, good to get an insight into the non-musical perspective or the non-musical side of Micah, which
Yeah,
like I said, I know it makes up a lot of your life, but there's got to be something else. And now we found that out. So it's very
yeah.
cool. You
There's
don't
more.
listen to again, I think I heard in maybe another interview or an article that you don't really recreationally kind of listen to music or just
Not
playlists,
too
songs, things like that.
not too much anymore. Because I, because of the way I listen to music, even like for work, I am listening to every little detail. Like, I am focusing so hyper actively that, like, I can, if you play a record for me, I could probably tell you what kind of mic they had on the kick drum and how far back the mic is on the guitar cabs. I can hear what gauge string they're playing on, or what gauge pick they're using sometimes. Like, I'm listening to such detail and minutia for my job that I to listen to music recreationally, it's not fun for me anymore,
Just doesn't happen.
I'm burnt out on listening to
Yeah.
on focusing that. So I need something else. Like, when I get home from work, maybe I might put on like some classical music or some jazz or
Right.
something very light and easy to listen to, or podcasts are great for walking the dogs or whatever.
Yeah. No, yeah. I guess that's the same with any job. Say if you're a a
Yeah,
landscape guy, right? And you're cutting grass all day and you come home and you're like, the last thing I want to do is cut my grass,
exactly.
even though I
That
do it
is
every day.
Yeah, and I do love my job. I love a lot about it, at least. But yeah, I just can't come home and like Sheena, my girlfriend knows that like if we're in the car, unless I say so, like I literally sometimes I just can't handle music.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. No,
need
I believe
silence.
it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
silence, just cruising on the road. No, I get that, man. Yeah. Like I said, with any job, that's usually how it goes. So again, getting into some of the final things here, tattoos, big, a lot of tattoos. I see, both half sleeves,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. I got two half sleeves and a chest and a little bit of a leg. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
but
What, first tattoo?
actually, let's see. I actually just started in 2019, actually.
I was going to say
So
those, I was surprised.
yes, I did not have any tattoos prior to this. Throughout all my touring, being around all the tattoos and
Yep.
all the tattoo artists, the permanence of a tattoo just was too much for me. I just didn't reconcile that very well. But as I was like 2 months away from turning 40, and I was just like, what the fuck? Let's try it. And I don't know if you have any tattoos, but it can be very addictive. I'm sure you've heard that at least.
I have heard that. Yep.
Yes, and I have a great tattoo artist who's also a client, somebody I've been working with, recording them for like 6 or 7 years, and he has a great shop in Columbus. So
Nice.
it's it's time to I get to go hang with a close friend as well as get some great work done.
Right. No, that's
Uh,
cool, man. Yeah. Crazy thing. Pretty covered in just over 2, 3 years.
yeah, it's been something to do during this pandemic.
Right. What can I do? I think I'm going to get a couple tattoos.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. No, very cool. Like you said, addicting. Have heard that. I don't have any myself, but I've had the itch a couple of times where I see something I
Yeah.
like or a piece of artwork, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I get down with that. I wouldn't mind putting that on my arm.
Absolutely. It's it can be a little intimidating for sure to start, but chances of regret I think are pretty slim.
Yeah.
Unless you start with like a face tattoo or something. Yeah, start on some place that you can easily cover
Right.
if you want to. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yep. And then once you get into it, you're like, okay, I kind of like this, and maybe throw it on the other arm, and like you said, leg, chest, back. Okay, now we're covered.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. All right, man. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Greatly appreciated talking with you. Like I said, I've been a huge fan of yours, as have a lot of people my age. So definitely means a lot for you to take the time, and have enjoyed listening to your stories and your memories and kind of what you have going on now with Popside, a very cool recording studio up in Troy, Ohio. So yeah, with that, just wanted to say thank you again, and really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I'm I feel very fortunate to be a part of your show. Thank you for letting me, come on, and I really enjoyed the interview, man. Nice to meet you, and you do good work.